If you're a long-time subscriber to this channel, you know by now that most of my videos are motorcycle related. And it's been, oh geez, 3, 4, maybe 5 years, probably 4 years since I've had a motorcycle in here. Well, we've got one now. This is a 2002 XR250. And the reason why I chose an XR250 over a 250F or 450F, because I don't need that kind of power. I'm actually getting older, I'm 43, and even when I did the build about 4 years ago, it was too much power. I haven't been on a bike in years, and this will suit me just fine. And more importantly, this is more to ride with my grandson, because I got him a PW50 back at the end of February when he turned 5. So he knows how to ride that now, although he did have one accident. And since he has a little spill, he didn't really get hurt, but my daughter said he had to stay off it for a month. Actually, the day before he had the accident is when I got this. So he had the accident about a month ago to the date. I've had this for a month. I've ridden it on the street a couple of times. Now this is actually street legal. This is an XR250R, which is not an L. It's not street legal from the factory, but depending on the state you live in, you can make it street legal. Now I purchased this down in Kentucky. Rented a U-Haul trailer, went and picked it up at like midnight. And in Kentucky, it's actually not legal to convert a dirt bike or the VIN of a dirt bike to a street legal machine. So the previous owner actually had this titled in South Dakota. So all I had to do was go to the Ohio BMV, get the title transferred in my name, and then sign an affidavit saying it's street legal. And I actually have plates for this. We've got insurance on it. So when I want to ride on the street, I can. Now I probably will change these tires, go more for a dual purpose tire, because I'm going to want to ride this down to the corner store, what have you, and I'm not always going to be riding with my grandson, which we're going to ride in the dirt, and any riding we do is not going to be anything intense. And again, I'm 43 years old. I don't plan on doing anything intense. And finding an XR250 in good shape with the title is almost impossible. I actually have been looking for one of these for about 6 months or so. Before I got his little PW50, I knew I was going to get another bike, and it took me that long to actually find one of these. And it was not cheap. So they originally wanted almost $3 grand for it, and I still ended up giving like $2,200, which is entirely too much for a 2002 XR250, but it has a title, and it's in pretty good shape. I'm going to do some things to it, and we'll kind of go over it here in just a minute. And here's the PW50. It's all muddy. It's in great shape. You can see the throttle side is missing, the throttle itself. He actually ran into the neighbor's fence, ripped off the entire throttle assembly, and broke it. So I haven't been in a real hurry to get it ordered. It's a real simple fix, probably 5 minutes, because he hasn't been able to ride it, but I think he's going to be able to ride it maybe next weekend, so I better get that ordered. Before we go over to the bike, I'm going to show you some things that it came with, some spares or original parts. So here are some oil lines it came with, a couple of those. And I'll probably keep all these parts. Original shifter, more oil lines, the original bash guard, original sprocket. It did come with the original fenders, which were an absolute mess, so we threw those away. And this I'll probably throw on eBay as the original light. Just needs cleaned up a little bit, but these go for pretty decent money. And the best for last, came with a Pro Circuit T4 exhaust. And the reason why he did not have this exhaust on here, because he said it was too loud. But there's really no major noise ordinance where I live, so this is going to go back on there. The previous owner took really good care of the bike, but on the exhaust, when he repacked it, he must have stripped out a screw or something like that and had various different screws in there. So we kind of got them all matching. They're not the factory ones, which are right here. I may try to find a larger version of that, retap it, and put those in. But for now, it'll be just fine. It has been repacked, so it should be good to go. Also included with the purchase was 2 gallons of this Honda oil. There's 2 black containers you see right there, as well as some extra wheel bearings, some exhaust gaskets. I believe this is an oil-filled nut in red, and 3 air filters, a couple spark plugs, and the original link, which, like I said, we have not shown you the bike yet, but it's got some pretty decent upgrades, so that initial cost of the actual bike is not as big a hit as it would have been, because these are some things I would have added to it. When I got the bike, this was installed, this is how it looked. I've actually unscrewed this. The previous owner purchased this kit, which is a street legal kit. It includes this piece that goes over the rear fender. It's got a brake light and turn signals in it, as well as turn signals and everything in the front. So we'll show you that in a minute. But I took this off because when I looked at this, I noticed the only thing really holding it down was this plastic, the bottom of this case, which is a CD case. Pretty clever idea, actually. So we're going to go ahead and try to clean this up. You can see there's multiple holes. Apparently he didn't know where he was going to drill it. And then back here, there's a hole from the factory, I believe, but there was nothing holding it down. You can see where the screw was just bouncing up against the fender. Now this does have all new plastics on it, except for the gas tank. Apologize, I've got the garage door open. Somebody's bouncing a basketball. So anyway, all new Acerbis plastics, which I love in the white. They were originally red OEM. And again, I threw those away. They were really bad. If you watch the channel, you know I have no problem saving plastics, but these were beyond repair. The front one they had cut it out and put some kind of screen in there, and the back one was just a mess. Didn't have the original side panel. And there is that OEM exhaust installed. Of course, we are going to put the Pro Circuit on there. And here is one of the upgrades that I mentioned that I don't believe the previous owner knew was on the bike. It's actually a rear caliper brake guard. Nice and beefy. And we've got some aftermarket pegs here. Also an aftermarket brake lever, which I may end up changing out in favor of something with some red on it or something. I don't know. We've also got a nice big beefy frame guard here. I'm not sure of the manufacturer of that. And I believe these to be aftermarket headers. I'm not 100% positive, but I don't recall XR250s having those. And the reason why I would know is because I had one. Also up here we've got an aftermarket oil cooler. I believe this is from an XR400. So that's why we have all that extra piping, because in order to put this on, everything had to be changed. And also we have a set of Renthal bars here. And you'll notice these bars have a lot more controls than your normal XR250, and we'll go over those in a little bit. We do have an aftermarket seat cover. I assume the original seat was destroyed at some point or worn out, as well as an aftermarket tank graphic. Now that is the original tank, although I do like these graphics. The tank itself looks a little dated, and you'll see here whenever they applied the graphics, it must have been him or whoever else, they're not entirely stuck to the actual bike. We definitely need a new graphic here, although that's not necessarily important. It's kind of important to me. And when doing that, we'll probably change the seat cover. And we also have a lowering link. Now, it's a pretty popular one. I think there's only maybe one for this bike. I don't recall the manufacturer of it, but this guy was a shorty like myself. And just like the rear of the bike, the front has a new fender as well. Also, you'll notice a different light in the front. Looks a little bit more modern, more sleek. And you see the brush guards, or the hand guards rather. Now these hand guards, tusk, but what makes them so important is that they actually have the front turn signals. Don't know if I mentioned it, you also have a horn with the conversion kit. Light, you may ask, why is that not on? That does not come on until the motorcycle starts with the magneto. Apparently when they hooked up this kit, they left that exactly the same, so that's why the light. In the back you've got the same thing. Turn signals, and you've got a brake light as well. And on this side you've got your horn, your right and left turn signals, and then of course your headlight function. So off, low, high. And the owner has moved the kill switch into the center of the handlebar because there's really no place to put it up here, because you've got the mount for your turn signals, and then you also have these side mirrors, which I believe I'm going to take these off. I don't think those are a requirement with the Hi-O. As far as other upgrades, we also have an oil pressure cap here, which is aftermarket, and we have an aftermarket gear shift, which I don't really care for. We'll probably change that as well. And it's got a aftermarket chain, O-ring chain. The seat didn't sit well in the front. Well, now I know why, because it didn't have enough room to snap up in there with all this tape. So we're going to order another one of those. We're also going to clean up this wiring. So in order to waterproof this plug, I guess they decided to just put tape on it. See right there, and we've got tape here. So we're going to go through all the wiring. And also you notice this wire tie here. This chain slide or guide is broken. Now he did inform me of that because there was a wire tie there. He did tell me that. And also he mentioned that he thought the oil drain plug may be stripped, which if it is, no big deal, but it's really hard to get to with this aftermarket frame guard here. So if it is, we'll just retap it when we need to, but it just had a fresh oil change, and I actually take his word on that because everything else he's told me has been correct. He did not tell me there was a bundle of wire, but I should have known because I saw this up there when I test rode it. And that bundle of wire I want to clean up as well. So this has got the flashers and everything's just bundled up under there. He did tell me that the headlight wasn't adjusted, and really that doesn't look like you can do much adjusting without bundle of wires there. Also, he's got these big tie straps here on the light. I'm not sure why those are there because it already has these clips here to hold it on, but maybe those were not tight enough. I'm not sure. They do look like they're kind of loose. So we'll have to address that. Fork boots, all of these covers are fine. I do not like them because you can see the divots and dents on them. So we're going to replace these as well. Just a cosmetic thing. The rear shock and the forks feel fine. Another upgrade I forgot to mention, they've already got fork bleeders on them. So these bikes do not normally come with them. Other things I've noticed on the bike, which I didn't really notice when I went to get it, are mismatch of screws, which they're all the right size, they're just not matched like they should be. That may not be a big deal to most people, but it bugs me. Same thing with the front lever. This one had some bolt that was about that long. I'm not sure why. So I replaced it with one I already had from some previous builds, and that looks much better. I was actually going to replace that, but I think I'm just going to leave well enough alone. And on the clutch side, I'm not sure if you can see that one. I don't know if that's stock or not. I don't believe so. So I may change that one. Clutch feels real good. Bike runs great. Starts on a few kicks. Pulls really hard. It's got good compression. This is the model with the decompression lever, which my old XR250 did not have a decompression lever. And as mentioned previously, I know I probably spent too much on this, but it's everything that I wanted, and it's got the street conversion kit on it. And my choices were either an XR250 like I used to have as a kid. Now I did have an XR250R when I was like 14 or 15, so it must have been a late 80s model, maybe 1990 model, I'm not sure. And I loved that bike, although back then it was not fast enough for me. I have to admit, because I had race bikes before, but it was a lot of fun. I could have purchased an XR650L for roughly the same price. A little bit more, but there are a ton of XR650Ls in the Ohio area for under $3 grand. Now the problem with an XR650L is it's big, heavy, and it's a tank. I don't know how else to describe it. And as you see in the background, we've got our Harbor Freight folding trailer, which maybe I'll make a video of that someday. We've got that all done up for the bikes. I'm going to be riding this with my grandson, so it's not going to be used that much on the streets, and I've got to put it on that trailer. I don't want to go pushing an XR650 onto that trailer. It's a heavy beast, and it's more than I need. Now in an ideal world, I would have loved to have an XR400, but try to find one of those. So here it is running. We can turn that headlight on. Hopefully that Pro Circuit exhaust sounds better than that. Although this doesn't sound that bad, but it's I'm sure it could be better. And I think that's going to wrap it up for this one. I know many of you may not be happy. This is not a complete build, and a lot of you will probably think I'm a pansy for getting an XR250, but maybe I am. And don't hesitate to leave a question or a comment below. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, I guess give it a thumbs down. And if you see any of the tools that you'd like to own for yourself that I use in any of my videos, be sure to check out the links below the video description. I have Amazon links in there to just about everything I use in my garage. A lot of them are woodworking, but a lot of those tools cross over. I have various tools in there, so be sure to check them out. And as always, thanks for watching.